Welcome back to the Anachroschism. When we last left off, an old woman popped out of a tree, startled everyone, and we had yet to figure out what that means exactly, but essentially the group is just sitting outside a little bit outside the city of Denard, and Lena is currently hugging her grandmother, Annetta, and I don't remember the last line of dialogue you said. You asked how she had been, and she was going to start explaining things, but we cut off because it was dramatic.
Right. So I think I basically said something to the effect of I was really glad to see her and was just wondering what she was doing here. I think that was it, pretty much.
So she kind of holds you in an embrace for a few seconds, and everybody on the cart now also can see this, by the way. The people up front had the shot of kind of seeing her as she popped out, but even from the back in the covered area of the carriage, you can see that Lena is holding this woman as described last time, but old.
Didn't she say, oh, grandma, or something like that? Did she say that?
She showed up and said, my fable dear, to Lena.
Yeah.
Did Lena say anything back?
And then I said, grandmother, something of what are you doing here?
I'm also old now.
And then I jumped off the cart and then ran over.
Know who this is, I guess. So clearly we can piece together that this is her grandmother.
Tessian, you've met her.
Okay, then I definitely know.
In passing, you didn't have a chance to sit down and talk with her, but she was present when you were doing the negotiations in the Sowenwood. So you at least recognize her from sight, and you know just from traveling with Lena at least that she's kind of described this person. So I don't know about met her per se, but you do know who she is. You've seen her. You're not who the hell is this? It is a person that you at least recognize.
Okay.
Everybody else obviously has no idea, but you can pick up on the context clues pretty quickly, particularly the word grandma. As the embrace ends, she kind of holds you out at shoulder length just to kind of get a look at you, looks you over a bit. She says, well, you seem to be doing well, just like the pictures showed us.
And then the pictures, do you mean you've been watching me?
Well, not all the time, dear, but you have to understand that someone as important as you, we couldn't just send you out into the world without keeping an eye on you, even though your father might be furious to know that. We were still keeping tabs on you to make sure you were okay. Well,
thank you. That means a lot.
Our mages were able to kind of track you because of the earrings you have, the ones you've always worn, the mistletoe.
Mm-hmm.
It was an easy thing to kind of track down when we were trying just to make sure. Again, we were only doing it periodically, maybe once every month or two, but just to make sure things were okay.
I see. So what brings you here?
Well, I received your letter, and there are a few things we need to go over, but I do seem to have kind of interrupted you in the middle of your travels, and now that I'm here, there's nothing extremely pressing. If you're in the middle of something, it can certainly wait until we reach a town or some other establishment.
What's the town we're going to again?
Denard. I swear to God. This town is Denard. It's Denard.
Denard. Okay.
Denard.
So I will tell her we're actually approaching Denard right now. If you'd like to join us, and then we can discuss more, maybe in the town inn.
That would be delightful. I'm assuming it's fine with the other companions as well?
Oh, I'm sure it will be. And then I'll take her hand and walk her along to the... No, I don't know if she needs help, but it's just a gesture of happiness.
She seems relatively mobile still. She is still using this quarterstaff that she has to kind of lean on just to steady herself, but she's not leaning on it heavily. She walks okay. It's a bit slow, but she does okay for herself. She doesn't turn down your help if you're going to help her to get to the side of the carriage. But
yeah.
You could even see as she walked out of the tree and came towards you, she's still doing pretty well for a woman her age.
Yeah.
I turn to Karash and say, are they traveling through trees now?
Tessian's gonna get off the cart and go meet them as they're approaching.
Okay.
And was it Annetta? Was that her name?
Yeah.
Annetta. And so he'll kind of double T.
Yep. ANETTA. TIGGR.
She just starts hopping. So Tessian approaches her, gives her sort of a bow. And it's just Lady Silverquist, it's a pleasure. What brings you here?
And she kind of looks over you, and she returns a smile as you address her, and she says, the young noble from Black Harbor. It's a little overdue, but I must apologize for how things went. I think you were treated I don't know about rudely, but not as kindly as you should have been given the circumstances.
And Tessian's like, well, I appreciate your words, but it's no problem. It's no politics is it's a tricky business, and well, everything can't go our way sometimes. But come, and he'll kind of help Lena bring her to the cart, I guess, since that's obviously where we're going.
Okay. So yeah, with one of you on each side, you kind of escort her over to the carriage and help her with the step to get inside of it, and she hops inside and sees the rest of you there and kind of looks you over a bit, but seems really jovial about it and just isn't really sure what to make of it. But it also seems like this isn't her first time seeing you, if that makes sense. And you suspect that in the course of them being able to keep an eye on Lena, even though you've only been traveling together for about a week at this point, there may have come a time where she's already seen the group, so she's not like, look at these weird people. It's more like, oh, this is the people that she's been traveling with.
I'm going to sit in the back with her because I think I was in the front.
I believe,
you were running this train, weren't you?
I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
I think so because I think I jumped off the front. So, yeah, I'll be sitting in the back.
You were in the back of the carriage, not the front. The whole campaign's over. Everybody good to go? Just continuing on, carriage into town. Last time you had talked about wanting to just kind of ride in, and then I interrupted you rudely. But, you were essentially the plan was to ride into the center of town so as not to make things seem weird, dropping it off outside or something.
Yeah. Isaac is a little bristling right now. Just for the record.
Sure. So she joins you in the back of the carriage, and Tessian puts it back in motion. I think you were still in the front. You were in the first
I
leg.
believe so.
Yeah.
As I was driving angry.
Also, I need you to make an animal handling check.
I was hoping we could avoid this.
Nope,
Here
I
it
forgot
is.
last time. Not this time.
Oh, here we go.
What is it? A 6. There it is.
Good.
Drive angry.
Baby,
That's a Nicolas Cage movie.
baby driver. It does seem like the horses are a bit spooked by an old woman coming out of a tree, but it takes a few moments, but they don't like try and run off or anything. It's a bit slow going in the beginning, trying to get them to heed your call to move, but after a few seconds, you're able to finally get them back on track, and travel continues, not the city continues. In the distance, you can already kind of see it from here. You stopped about 15 minutes out where this happened, but as you get closer, you see the city of Denard, and two of you have already been here. But for the rest, a small city, certainly at least half the size of Sagara Cove, nowhere near the size of Falstock, a decent size. It's not like a little burg, but maybe... I'm having a hard time picturing it in my head. I was going to say 150 square feet, which is just not correct at all. Not at all.
It's a
Just
small
doing the
town.
math. Chris
Is
or
this a
correct?
town for ants?
It needs to be at least 3 times bigger. It's a small town. There you go. I'm not going to try and do square mileage. I don't really have a good sense for that. So accept that as a weakness of me as a DM. It looks like it is older in construction, especially compared to Falstock, which was a lot more technologically advanced compared to both Sagara Cove and this. But even compared to Sagara Cove, this place looks like it is older, more rustic. Buildings are a lot more made out of wood than stone or any newer, like, you've even seen a couple made out of metal in some respects, or some kind of like metal polymer. This is mostly wooden houses, smaller, has a nice like feel to it. On the eastern
human?
side of town, as you're riding in, you also see what appears to be like an elongated building that's bigger than any of the other ones. And Isaac and Grail, you recognize that as Count Zillin's residence. But there's definitely like that one building that stands out. Again, it's nowhere near like as big as Whitworth Thorogood's residence, but it is like the biggest one in town compared to the rest, in a similar manner to Falstock.
I want to tell Grail, how do you feel to be back?
I kind of try and dismiss what Isaac's saying with like a bit of a shrug. And I'm going to say, honestly, I wanted to never see this place again. I would have been totally fine with it, but it is what it is.
I don't think it's that bad. Some good memories here.
I mean, sure. I just mean, I just wasn't expecting to come back. I thought what we done here was done, and it's not, and it's disappointing.
Yeah, kind of have to go incognito. That's for sure.
Right.
Speaking of incognito, I have to be honest with you. This whole notion of being watched by Miss Silverquist, and especially being tracked, I have to say, as someone who values my privacy, I'm not a huge fan.
I'm a little alarmed by this, but I trust Lena, and I am sure she comes from good folk. I'm sure it's not being used maliciously. At least I would like to think so.
Yeah, I agree. I think from what I can tell, she's a sweet old lady. My concern is if they can do it, can someone else? Can someone tap into that magic or whatever it is?
From what I can tell, we're being tracked from something that Lena has on her person. So I hope we don't have something like that another person's attached to. That's all I can hope. I'm sure many people have powers that I'm not even hardly aware of. And honestly, if I think about it too much, it kind of scares me. I'd rather not.
Yeah, it might be something to keep an eye out on.
It's true.
How do you feel about Selenar? I'm very worried about her.
I'm worried too. I thought we were done with this. I thought we could move on and we could find the next thing to worry about. But it just seems like we're kind of going in circles here, and I fear for Selenar. I hope she's still alive.
Well, take my word for it. The past seems to have a way of always catching up to you.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
Are you guys going to give Tessian directions? Having been here before, or is he just riding into town at whatever seems cool or interesting?
Well, we're just going to find the biggest inn. So, I'll just scan the signs for anything labeled like, Buxom Babe or, Bearded Ale or something.
Or Motel 6.
The biggest inn is at least 15 square feet, I think.
There it is. There is, as you ride into town, you see maybe about 5 minutes in, a place called the Port House that does seem to be an inn and or tavern. Again, Grail and Isaac have been in it. Grail had a bad experience with the alcohol there. Once upon a time in the prologue session.
Yes.
Didn't agree with her very well, but...
I had a bad experience with dying in there, right? That would have been...
With dying?
Like, wasn't that the place where she, helped me recover, or would that have been before?
That wasn't in this town.
Oh, okay.
You guys traveled here after she helped you recover.
That's right.
But that was the town in which you got whooped.
Sure did.
Which we'll probably get to later. But no, this was the first place you guys traveled. Well, not the first. It was among the first places you guys traveled together after that happened.
Yeah.
So, no, that was not here. This is where you had, you had a nice little drink and you talked to Selenar in this place, and that was where you first met her, was in the Port House. So that's where you're headed, Jason?
Yeah, because we're just going to drop off the carriage for, what's her face?
Mina.
Mm-hmm.
Who is still riding astride and has not offered a comment about the woman in the tree incident, but does seem a little bit taken aback by it, but continues to ride on because she knows at this point that things are weird sometimes and it's not a big deal.
God, Mina's creeping me out, man. She's like that creepy friend. She's always right there.
Hi. Do you need anything else, friend?
Mina, go away.
I could stay a little longer. Rolling up outside, it's a decent-sized building, 2 stories. And if you're just going to offer Mina the carriage, she is eager to get back to town, so she's not one for conversation. But if you're just going to set her loose outside, park the carriage, and ready to go, she'll take you up on it.
I mean, I'm going to park it, and then pretty much thank her for following along with us, for everything that they did. Pretty much just give her all the pleasantries, and kind of wish her well on her trip back and whatever. Just see her off, basically. But now that we got other things to do, I'm not trying to keep her around or anything.
Okay.
So.
And as her parting words, she says, You're welcome back in Falstock anytime. As far as we're concerned, there are others who may disagree with that sentiment. So I would just say that if you do return, be on your guard.
And Tessian's like, well, I appreciate the concern, and we will do everything we can to right what we've done when we return. I know that we've left you a little worse off than when we started, but hopefully this can be the first of many movements towards something better for you and your people.
You know, I'm honestly not too worried. Whitwer is capable of a lot of things, but it's one thing to tax people heavily and hurt their livelihoods and break their spirits, but as far as like revenge or going after people in the town, even he knows there would be consequences for actions of that nature. So sure, things may be a little rough for a couple days while we get a sense of what response he'll have, if any, but I don't anticipate there anything being anything too serious.
Tessian, shakes her hand, thanks her, and it's just like, well, we'll try to keep in touch if anything changes, and we'll be sure to stop by, maybe, incognito, as they say, if need be, the next time we arrive. But take care.
And she kind of addresses the group, in the carriage and whatnot. She says, I wish you all safe travels, and I do hope we meet again someday.
Likewise.
And she rides off with her horse now attached to the carriage with the others and repaying the debt that she doesn't owe, but that you guys essentially owe to Gothak, which is just returning the carriage. Not he would have been displeased if he had not gotten that back. And the question is, do you want to make a man of that size displeased?
No.
You can answer that for yourselves. Staying outside, going in the porthouse, what's the plan now? You're on foot in the city, no longer any horse or carriage with you. An old woman.
I'm thinking I want to go inside.
I'm going to follow Lena's lead here, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to vote for finding the nearest inn and then taking a seat with my grandmother.
Okay.
I'm going to go into the inn and talk up whoever's behind the bar and anybody else I find in there, see what information I can find about their friend.
Okay.
I'm going to try to find a bookstore, and I just leave. Really, though, I want to kind of... Yeah, I mean, if they have a bookstore, that's great. But I want to kind of... I want to look around. I want to just kind of observe the town.
Okay.
And I want to see if there's a bookstore kind of close to where Count Zillin was.
Sure. We'll keep an eye out. Maybe if you roll a 20, a bookstore will manifest itself into this town. Do make a perception check. I'm also... What do you look like right now?
I do not... I have short hair. I'm shaved. And I do not have the mask on.
Okay.
I just look like myself, but whatever. Here we go.
Grail,
Nobody should know us.
Grail, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna follow Karash's lead and go in with him.
Okay. All right. So the four of you head inside, and Lena, you're able to find a table easily enough. Currently, seeing as it is like late morning at this point, there is nobody inside. There's a person behind the bar, to your point, Karash, but there doesn't seem to be any patrons, and whether that's just because of the time of day or the size of the town or because something suspicious is afoot, you're not entirely sure. But, yeah.
I'm going to see it as a good thing.
Chris, I did roll a 15. You asked for a perception.
Okay. So inside, you guys kind of grab a table because you have your choice of all of them, and there's like 7 of them scattered about the room.
Sweet.
It's not a huge establishment, by the way. It's pretty small. It's not bad. It's just like quaint, and you get the sense that it's in a town this size. It has a nice quiet presence to it. It seems like a nice establishment, but for the most part, it just seems to be more serviceable than anything. Like, people come here to get drunk, and they're not much worried about keeping up appearances. You had that lavish burlesque in Falstock. This is the exact opposite of that. This is like, a hole in the wall. People are serious about their drinking here, and not any other distractions.
I'm going to try and get a table closer to the back if I can.
Okay, in the corner so you can see all exits at all times.
Yes.
Okay. Go full Old West gun shooter.
Yes.
Gun shooter, gunslinger, whatever. Shut up. Karash at the bar is actually a surprisingly old man. It's a human, and he looks to be in like his 60s. Doesn't necessarily seem like a type of person you would expect behind the bar, but seems nice enough. Has on a nice like purple vest that's buttoned up and seems to take good care of himself. Has a nice appearance to his exterior. And he's just kind of like cleaning this bar almost to keep himself busy as you approach him.
Always want to protect. Your bar is empty.
Well, it's not anymore, is it, friend?
True. Do you have beer?
You bet we have beer. How many?
Enough for each of us. I'm not doing the math.
Okay.
Is there a reason the bar is empty?
Well, it's relatively quiet this time of day. It's not unheard of. We have a few more serious folks about their drinking who sometimes will be here overnight or want to get a head start on the day, but, you know, for the most part, people in this town are respectable, hardworking individuals who would never be found in a place like this time of day.
Apparently, I'm not respectable. What's the news of the town?
Well, if you're travelers, then you probably wouldn't have heard, but it has been busy recently. And we recently had the head of this town killed in cold blood.
Hell yeah.
And so there's
What did he do to deserve that?
Well, I suppose I can speak freely about it now that he's dead. He certainly wasn't the best person. He was kind of a jerk to everybody in the city that he ran. I don't know that it warranted him being killed, but it wasn't my decision to make. And so we're currently waiting for new leadership. And as such, things have been sporadic, busy here, but it's a lot of just murmurs and people trying to figure out even what happened and making sense of it. And then as the days have passed, kind of coming to terms with it, you know?
Then is no one in charge?
Not right now, no. I mean, there are people in the city that we turn to in spots like this, you know, smaller leaders, but no one official. That'll be decided elsewhere within the next couple days, we've been told.
It's strange. What happens if there's criminals or something needs to be repaired?
Well, there are still craftsmen who can repair things. Luckily, we do not depend on the leader of the town for that. But besides that, I mean, it's kind of a holding pattern, you know. No new laws or taxes implemented. It's just status quo until someone else comes in and decides how they want to do things. If anything major were to happen, we can always seek help from other cities as well.
What's a quo?
Well, you see, sir, it's like when... How do I best put this? When a mother and a father love each other very much, they share a special kind of quo.
I walk up during this point.
I will save Karash from himself.
Yeah. I'm done getting things situated over at the table, and I walk up to assist with any of the beverages. And what's going on here?
He was explaining a quo. It sounds a lot like sex.
Does it now? Fascinating.
I was just explaining to your friend, you know, what's been happening here the last few days. It's been hectic, to say the least.
I'm sorry, I should have come up sooner. I don't want you to have to repeat yourself, but something wrong?
Not wrong, per se, but anytime the leader of a town is taken out unexpectedly, it certainly creates a vacuum and some things that need to be addressed.
I see. What kinds of things need to be addressed?
Well, specifically, we need someone else to run the town, and we haven't yet been assigned one yet by whoever over the monarchy makes that decision, so we're in a kind of a holding pattern right now.
Any word on anybody who might be taking up the reins?
Not yet, no. I expect they'll be foisted upon us, and then we'll have to see how good of a person they are.
Sounds like kind of the luck of the draw there.
Pretty much, especially a town our size. We don't exactly get to be picky with the number of people we have.
What was the name of this, your leader here?
Count Edward Zillan.
Name sounds familiar. I'm not grinning, I promise. Like, as a character, I'm really trying to hold that together.
Sounds familiar.
Huh? They have any idea who maybe did it?
Yeah.
Any
Any leads on that?
I mean, I bet I gotta ask, do we know who committed such a vile act?
Well, we've heard it was 3 individuals, but the investigation that's been going on so far hasn't turned up a ton of information, but they do have one of them that they found.
Who's they? Who has them? And who is it, may I ask?
Don't know too many details about it. Someone who came in from out of town was looking into it more, but supposedly they've had a woman in their care for the better part of a day now.
In their care? What does that mean?
You know, miss, I don't really ask questions I don't want to know the answer to.
Fair enough. I'm sorry to be so blunt. Do you know where they're holding this person?
Well, there's a place in the southwest part of town that has a few cells in it and whatnot that works for makeshift purposes like this. We're a pretty small town that doesn't have a lot of crime in it, but we do have a facility that is geared towards this when necessary.
Interesting. Wow, sounds like quite the upheaval in this little town of yours. I'm sorry to hear it.
Well, it's not all bad. Again, he was kind of a dick, but sometimes...
Maybe no real loss there?
Well, it's also a question of, sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
That's true. I guess you'll have to just wait and see. Thank you for telling me so honestly about the goings-on in your town. I know some people don't like doing that, and I understand why. But we're just kind of passing through, and it's good to know what's going on in the various places that we visit.
Well, my only advice would be, as you're passing through, stay away from that part of town, because things have been a little... if it's been hectic in the town, it's been even busier over there the last day or so.
All right. I appreciate it. We'll do our best to avoid it. So, we getting some ale here or what?
Yeah, he's kind of been like...
Crash.
He's been like idly pouring as he's been having the conversation, and you do now have 5 mugs.
All right.
Before we go, is there a temple or a hospital in town?
No, we have a place where it's almost like a makeshift triage. That's a word we're going to use in this campaign now. That we can work on the sick or the injured if need be, but there's not really a dedicated place to it. I mean, we have a couple people in town who are skilled at either magic or the ability to heal people if necessary. So that's what we go to in a pinch, but there's only maybe 2,500 or so people in this town, so we don't have any like huge facilities for that kind of thing.
Where would that be?
You wouldn't find it too far from the center of town. There's a couple-story building a little bit south of the center of town. Probably hard to miss. There's not a lot of two-story buildings in this town, but keep an eye out for it. If you ask around, they might be able to point you to it a little better once you get closer.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. We appreciate your time.
Certainly,
Truly.
You're welcome. I have mugs. I'm method acting.
Space
Cool.
work.
So
All
with mugs at your disposal, you head back over to the table. Do anything over the table in this time, by the way, Tessie and Lena?
Tessie's kind of letting Lena take the lead here. He wants to know why her grandmother's here, but he's not going to pry.
Yeah. Lena's going to bring it up now that we're here, we can openly discuss everything.
And she's sort of reserved about it until the point where Grail goes up to join Karash at the bar. And then at that point, like, she kind of makes small talk for the time being, but when Grail gets up to leave, then she kind of makes a point of changing the tone of the conversation briefly. And she's not really trying to speak in hushed tones. It's possible that like Grail and Karash can hear them over there. She's not going out of her way to be secretive about this, But it does seem like she's also not going out of her way to involve other people that she doesn't know all that well yet, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a walking that line. But at the one that once that point happens, she says, "Well, if your vision is as you described it in the letter that you sent, then we have some things we need to discuss. Are you sure that's what you remember?"
Yes, I'm almost positive that I was able to write everything down by memory and accurately.
And she looks over at Tessian at this point, and she's like, "Were you there when she experienced this?"
And Tessian shakes his head. He's like, I was not, unfortunately. We were caught up in unfortunate drama in the town, and I wasn't there.
There are discussions that we should have about what this could mean, but the question that you have to answer, Lena, because we certainly can't tell from the limited time that we've had to look in on you since you've started traveling with more people, is, do you trust them?
And I'm gonna take a moment to think about that. And then I'll say, I don't know if I trust them fully yet, but I do think that they're willing to help, and I don't think all of them are bad people. But I don't know if I can 100% open up yet. Oh, that sounded bad. Sorry.
Not all of them are bad people. I know a couple are bad, but I think some are good.
2/5 bad, but I mean, besides that, 60%'s okay. Now, she kind of looks concerned a bit, but she's still smiling throughout this. She's partially just seems happy to see you. This is the first time you've seen her in person since you were exiled. So part of that is just like relief and a general happiness to be able to spend time with you again. But even so, like, she doesn't seem too troubled by that response. And she says, "There are a few different things that could mean, but I will have to ask in greater detail, perhaps tonight. If you intend to stay here for a bit, we could sit down and try and figure out exactly what this means. There are a couple of different legends passed down by the tribesmen of the Solwynwood that may inform what it is that you've seen."
Okay. Yes, I think we should discuss that later.
I suppose if you have plenty of time, we could even get to it this afternoon, but it seemed like you guys were in a hurry to do something.
Tessian chuckles, and almost to himself, is like, at this point, I'd rather do anything else than worry about what's going on in this town.
Certainly sounds like nasty business, and she's kind of overhearing bits of conversation from the far side about, again, like displaced ruler, murdered in cold blood, and et cetera, et cetera. So she's
Or
like,
sex.
I can understand that. It's a nasty business, but I suppose at least the town seems to be safe. Is there anything else you want to press her on?
Not really.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Take that, Grandma. Objection!
No, I guess we can wait until later.
Okay.
No, you didn't. I talk a lot. Is
She's-
it worth going over what the vision was? Because I mean, I don't remember. Just like in quick.
Kind of works great for Isaac because he wasn't there anyways.
Oh, great.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
So for the time being, no, the viewers may remember, and if not, you can go back and check out. I don't know what episode it is.
Also, Isaac's still not here, so this is even.
Right.
Sure, am not.
But she had a vision. It was of different scenes in nature, and she wrote about it in great detail in the letter that she sent to her grandmother. We may get into the specifics later, but Isaac,
Hell yeah.
15 on perception.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a terrible amount of time to kind of canvass the town as far as like a perimeter sweep, because again, not terribly large. You can maybe walk around like a decent swath of the exterior, not like outside the town, but like the outskirts in maybe 20, 25 minutes. Among the things you see are the streets are a little busier than you would expect for a town of this size. And given the events that have transpired here, that doesn't like seem out of place for you at the moment. Just assorted people going about their days. As you do approach the southwest part of town, that activity changes a bit, and you actually see three different individuals over the course of your walk who have armor on that you've seen before. And all of it is silver, and all of it has a red crest of a lion emblazoned on the front. And it matches what you saw Derek Rothwell and his associates in when you met the Crusaders in the Sanguine Stronghold.
Oh, shit. Okay.
It does not. They don't seem to pay you any mind. They kind of look your way and they look you over, but they're not. They're not stopping you or anything. They're just kind of like, oh, that's another person walking around. Cool. But they do seem to be walking with purpose. But beyond that, you pretty much just get a sense that the rest of the people that you're encountering are mostly townsfolk.
What was their name? These are the Crusader guys, right?
Yeah, they're part of the crusade.
Okay. I'm gonna walk up to them. I'm gonna say, "Excuse me, Crusaders, right?"
They are individuals. If you'd like to pick one of them, that's fine. But
Yeah, I'll just go to whatever.
Sure.
I'll kind of talk to them in the group, and I'll see does one of them. They're together, right? Or are they spread?
No, they're
out?
separate. That's what I'm saying. Like over the course of, especially as
Gotcha.
you're sweeping towards the southwest part of town, you see at three different points people in the Crusader armor walking about again with like this sense of purpose, but they're not together.
On the third one that I see,
Okay.
I'll go up to him and say, "Crusader."
Sure. He says, "Yes. What do you need?"
Oh, I just find it strange. What brings you to this town? Is there some kind of trouble?
Well, we have a knack for responding wherever there's trouble, and I think what you could classify what happened here as trouble. You must not be from around here if you haven't heard yet, but the leader of this town was apparently killed at his own house about 6 days ago, and
Oh my God!
I'm trying to piece together what happened and how such a thing could come to be.
That is truly terrible. The leader of the town. How does something like that happen?
Well, we're still trying to piece it together, but rest assured we'll get to the bottom of it if it's at all possible. We have a knack for being pretty decent at this kind of thing, and I think we will have our answers shortly.
I tell you, since the war, this world is just falling apart. You can't trust anyone.
You got that right, at least as far as falling apart goes. Seems like the longer the time passes since the war, the more convoluted things get.
I hope these scumbags get what they deserve. You've caught them, I assume.
Well, can't say a whole lot in that direction, but
Oh,
I
of
will say at
course.
the very least, one threat has been dealt with, yes.
Oh, well, good. Good. Are they set up for execution yet, I hope?
Well, that's the decision that's above my pay grade, but at the very least, you can rest assured that they'll get what's coming to them.
Well, thank you for your time. I don't want to keep you. You understandably are very busy. Thank you for your service.
Certainly. Have a good day, sir.
You too. And I turn around and go, fuck.
Shit. Holy cow.
So I would like to keep looking for a cell or guardhouse or something. Just
A
kinda keep
bookstore?
an eye open. What?
A bookstore.
Or a bookstore. Sure.
A neon sign that
Yeah.
says Selenar was here.
Yeah.
Make an investigation check.
I am built for this. Where's my character sheet?
I'm
Good.
built for this. Maybe.
Your character's built for it. You, on the other hand,
All right. Now you go away, and now you.
Jesus.
No,
Nat
you-
20.
Oh, great. Apparently it's a nat 20. I
Okay.
can't see it, but
Uh,
I just solved the case completely. Amazing.
you start to
She's
put the
been
pieces
saved.
together here, and just based on kind of a sense of where the Crusaders that you encountered were headed, you piece together a location that might be of interest, and you're not entirely sure, at least on the surface, but there is one building that two of the three, not the one you encountered, but the other two, seem to be going in and out of as you just kind of, take a leisurely stroll around town and try not to seem too conspicuous. There is a building, looks like a house on the surface, that 2 of the 3 Crusaders do seem to be going in and out of, that you suspect at least has something to do with what's going on. Which is to say, your chances of finding this, considering that it has nothing descriptive about it, were very slim, but natural 20.
Hell yeah. And from what I can see, there's 3. There's not like one goes in and then another one comes out and it keeps going. From what I can see.
You do see, in addition to the 2 going in, you see a different person come out at one point. The one that you talked to doesn't seem to be heading back here. You don't know where he was headed, but he was seemingly splitting off into a different direction.
So I have at least 4.
At least.
Okay. Oh, God. And this place is not obviously a prison. So if I were to go there and say that would not be natural. It seems like they're trying to keep it low key.
On the exterior, there's nothing that screams prison about it, and there aren't any windows, which I suppose is a bit of a red flag. But just looking at it from the exterior, no, it seems like a regular building for the most part. As to what's inside, don't know.
Okay. I'm gonna head back to the inn.
Okay.
Do I see a bookstore?
No.
This is a bad day.
Your perception was only a 15. You did not see the non-existent bookstore.
All right.
So as you guys are kind of making this conversation, you guys wrap up at the bar. You bring the drinks back and sit at the table. It's not too long after that Isaac walks back in as well. And Isaac, you see them all kind of at a table. They have drinks.
And a single tear rolls down my cheek because there's no beer for me.
That's correct.
I'll go over and pull up a chair for... no, I won't. I'll go up and I'll say, team, I have some updates. When you get a moment, I think it's pretty important.
Tessian's really trying not to just roll his eyes out of his head. So he doesn't say anything.
I will respond, okay, thank you. Also, I'm not hugely fond of ale. Would you like my drink? And then I'll kind of push it towards you for a moment and then see if you take it or not.
I look at it for a second, then I look at you, and I say, thank you, and I take like a sip, and then I just put it back down.
It's poison.
I'm dead. Dang, what a twist.
The long haul.
Meant for Lena. So I say, so if we have a room or somewhere that we can talk, I would be much obliged.
We have not gotten a room.
Or anywhere we can
We can
talk.
get a room.
Sorry, what?
We can get a room.
That's fine. Let's get a room. I think it's a good idea.
God, I don't know. Tessian just grabs 10 gold and like throws it up on the table or whatever. Then hands it to Isaac. Just so he can go get us a room.
All right. I will take it.
There
And
go
I will go.
There go the party funds.
I'm just gonna go get a room.
Okay.
Spending the party funds on the party.
Sure.
Beer money.
That's actually rare for this group so far. You go up and you encounter the individual that they talked to earlier. Of course, you haven't met him yet, but when you give him this money, he says, "That's entirely too much, sir. I mean, unless you're getting a whole bunch of rooms."
Oh, just one, please. Your cheapest room at that.
Okay. And he takes like 2 of the gold, leaves the remainder on the table.
All right. So I'll tell Tessian, okay, we have a room, and here's your gold-backed money bags. If we can go now, that would be great.
I stand up.
Yeah,
Leave.
I'm
Okay.
moving.
Same.
Will your grandmother be okay waiting here for a few minutes?
And then I'm kind of surprised at first, but then I look at her and for her reaction.
And she has a kitty face. And she says, "Oh, I'll be fine, dear. Go ahead." As long as it won't be too long.
I imagine she's just like slamming ale, and then by the time we get back, she's just like trashed.
She was the first one done with her drink.
Grandma.
And then I say, okay, we'll be back soon.
She does not look
party
trashed.
with her.
As you guys are heading upstairs, you hear her in the downstairs area call out to the guy at the bar. She says, "Young man, my drink seems to be empty." And he goes, "Of course, miss, right away, right away."
Tessian will leave that 8 gold with her.
Okay.
So she can just...
Some kind of queen? What do you...
Hey, you know, if she wants to go crazy, she can do it on our dime. She's our guest right now.
Well, she's not a queen, but you're not far off. All right, so you guys head upstairs.
I'm not the one that overpaid for a cheap room by 2 gold pieces, so let's...
The guy gives you directions. He would have given you a key and directions as you pay for the room, Isaac.
Yeah.
So yeah, you head upstairs, and the third door on the right opens up to a nice little room. Not as nice as the stuff that you had at the Gilded Ale House. Obviously, that was a much more exquisite. Like they had finely crafted beds and stuff like that, and furniture. This is still nice though. Again, it gives you this kind of like country feel to it. It's like a rustic bed and breakfast. So there's a nice bed in the room. There's a table and chairs with 4 chairs on it. And it's a nice little room. It's only going to sleep 1 or 2 people in theory, but it'll serve your purposes.
We found your friend.
So, the good news is I know where they're keeping Selenar. It's a little inconspicuous place in the southwest of town. That's about all in the good news. The rest is pretty bad. They think they're going to have more information out of her soon, and then a decision on her fate. I can't imagine they're not going to execute her. And the people detaining her are the Crusaders. So, our allies.
Is Derek here?
Yeah, Derek is not here, but it's definitely the Crusaders. They have the crest and everything.
I mean, they're just doing their job. They don't really know when all happened here. I mean,
Exactly.
you can't blame them entirely, but
Tessian actually speaks up and he's like, "Do any of us know what happened here other than you two?"
No, and I should have thought that this was a possibility. This complicates things greatly.
sorry.
A rude tenant 2 doors over slams his door as he heads to the downstairs area.
Tessian, I guess, will ask. He's like, "So, what's your intention, Isaac?"
I think we still have to get her out, but this is complicated. I don't know if there was a situation where we would have gone in guns blazing. This is certainly not it. We can't allow her to stay detained. 1, she's on our side. And 2, if they were to get information out of her, I don't know their means. That could be very bad for myself. And more importantly for you, it's very bad for Grail.
Tessian's like, "Listen, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're both criminals. I don't know that there's a way to do this without being criminals. You realize this, right? Like, they are, as you pointed out, doing their job. If you don't want to do it by force, you're welcome to turn yourselves in. But I don't know what else you are planning, Isaac, or what you thought would happen here."
I think you misunderstand. Grail is technically, to them, not a criminal. She will be if they find out her identity and they start putting up warrants and searching for her.
Tessian's like, "I'm sorry, you misunderstand me. What I mean is, even if they know you're a criminal or not, the 2 of you did kill a noble here. Again, what was your plan in coming here? I know you want to free your friend, but there are
That was the
repercussions for this."
That was the plan. That was all we had in mind. We didn't know who would be keeping her prisoner.
Now, somebody who's
Sure.
just doing their job
I
would
think
have been
it's-
keeping her prisoner.
I think it changes very little, but certainly force is not something I think we should go for now. Is going to take a more deft touch. It changes our plans. It changes the means. It doesn't change the plan. To me.
Tessian's just like, well, I'm all ears, Isaac. What's your plan?
We go in guns blazing.
We kill all the
kill
Crusaders.
the entire town.
Well, there appears to be 4 Crusaders at least. I can't imagine it's much more than that, but it could be. So we're looking at a minimum of 4. We know they're not to be trifled with. But the presence is not high, so I mean, I imagine some form of night comes and we go in and break her out. I would like to do something more diplomatic, but as far as the town's concerned, and rightfully so, she's a murderer. We can't claim it was for justice or for the greater good. The fact is she broke the law, as did we.
Tessian's like, well, I mean, you have some proof of what's happening here. Your bloodline, what your word means something. You could always go to someone in charge and make your case. You don't have to try to settle this the way that you are.
I'd like to think a day will come where I can use my name again. You're being silly if you think that time is now, especially with what you know about my father. My identity is not something I can use.
Tessian's like, well, if you can't trust the Empress and turn yourself in that way, I don't know what to tell you.
I just kind of massage my temples and I just, this isn't helping. If you're not going to have a good idea, I'd prefer you not chime in at all.
And Tessian is like, very well. And then he looks to Lena and he's like, I'll keep your grandmother company. And then he leaves and goes downstairs.
Damn. All right.
I'm feeling awkward.
Sounds about right.
Look, Grail, I do think it's not fair to ask anyone else to do this. So Lena and Karash, this is our mess. This is our friend. If you don't want to get involved, I don't blame you.
I don't know how to respond right now. I would like to help your friend, but it does seem risky, especially with the Crusaders.
Well, the fact of the matter is that we've been seen now. If we just leave conspicuously and then Selenar ends up missing, we need to rethink how we're going to do this, if we're going to do this at all, Isaac. We kind of came in here willy-nilly, and I mean, the bartender's seen us. We have a room here. This is going to be a lot trickier than I thought.
And we have, I don't like it all the way, but we do have Tessian's reputation to think of as well. But all I know is we can't let her stay here. So,
No.
with that said, and I respect your opinion, I think we have to be mindful of it. But, I mean, there's one thing that can't happen, and it's her staying here.
I agree. I just don't know where we go from here, honestly.
Did you see your friend?
No, I couldn't get in. I didn't think they would be very open to visitors. The nature of this place seemed pretty secretive. I'm confident she's there.
Yeah, you said in the southwest, correct?
Yes.
That's actually, I talked to the bartender and he said something similar. I didn't say where exactly, but he said they were holding someone somewhere in the southwest. So that does check out. So I don't know. What do we do from here? It feels like we have to like stage something, or and in some way separate ourselves from Tessian, from Lena. I don't know.
Are healers allowed to see prisoners in the mainland?
I thought about that, Karash. I suppose it's worth asking about. Technically, I really am the one who should be doing this. I technically have no identity right now. And so, yeah, if we all leave, but I don't think Lena is going to... Lena, that's you. I don't think Selena is going to be joining us. So I don't think it's... I think we can keep a distance, but I should be the one to go see her.
But you can't heal people.
Heal, right? You said heal.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't.
Heal.
I'm hoping that what I thought was happening to Selena is wrong. If she is being tortured, well, that complicates things yet again.
I'm gonna go ask
Who are you going to ask, Karash?
the healers.
What do you mean, Karash?
The bartender said there's healers in town. I'm gonna go ask the healers if they get to visit the prisoner.
It's worth a shot. I'll go with you.
Moving.
We high five.